And now we have the pleasure of listening to Jill and then John and how Jesus made all the difference in their lives. The same Jesus who saved Peter is still saving people today. And now we get to hear a living testimony of that truth. Jill, please come on up and share with the family.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone. Always love seeing all your happy faces. So, the number one question people ask about God is, why does he allow suffering? There was a time in my head, never out loud, I thought, well, because often we deserve it. But we are fallen people who live in a fallen world, and we have a just God. Why wouldn't we suffer? I have come to understand suffering in a different way. It changes us. It changed me. It forced me to ask, who am I really? Why must I suffer? And I'm falling. Dear Jesus, are you going to catch me? 18 years ago, many of you know our story, but I'm going to tell it again. 18 years ago, we were a happy, healthy, active, church-going family. We were on track to have a wonderful life when my husband, Gordon, a no-risk factor man, suffered a massive stroke. It started with a vision problem in his left eye in the middle of the night. That led to a 911 call, to an emergency room, to the organ donation lady using words like non-responsive and vegetative state. Over the course of 9 hours, I was facing the loss of my husband, financial ruin, and the very real possibility of raising our 2 children alone. He survived. Yay! But the consequences were severe. Gordon was paralyzed on the right side of his body. He couldn't speak. He couldn't organize his thoughts. And he didn't recognize his own wife and children. His memory was gone. How can this happen to a perfectly healthy 51-year-old man? There was no reason. His stroke was one of those random struck by lightning events, and everything in our lives changed. Gordon's is a story of recovery. Mine is a story of surrender. Recovery required total commitment to making it happen and years of work. But surviving the ordeal required total surrender of my will. It didn't take long to realize the obvious. I didn't have the power to change anything. When I could even put words in my prayers, it was mostly just crying and pleading. By surrendering to Jesus, by releasing my life to him, I could give him all my worries, my sadness, and my stress. Because I had Jesus, I could embrace my powerlessness and put my faith into practice. My job was to do my best. The outcome was the Lord's. I had to trust the good Lord to carry us through the nightmare. In the last 18 years, I have often thought of Job. Job was a good and faithful man. Job was living his faith with his family and in his community. He was doing his best. Well, Satan didn't like that. Satan was so bothered by Job's faithfulness that he asked God for permission to break him. And he got it. God had so much confidence in Job, he gave Satan permission to try to break him. And Satan inflicted terrible things on Job. He killed his family, his friends turned on him, and he was afflicted with sores. You name it, it happened to Job. But Satan could not break him. Instead, in Job 1:20, then Job arose and tore his robe and shaved his head and fell on the ground and worshiped. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Now, I know I am not anywhere near the faithfulness and quality of Job, but I do like to think that God had confidence in me too. He allowed these things to happen to us. He allowed us to suffer. Like Job, there were times when I wanted to question that. I wanted to question God's wisdom. I wanted to ask why. But then I remember God's response to Job when he asked, in Job 38:4, after chapters of Job asking questions and being upset and complaining, God says to Job, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have wisdom or you have understanding. And Job's response was appropriate. He said, I am unworthy. I put my hand over my mouth. Me too. Things happen in this world, not just stroke, other life-changing events. We all suffer. No one is immune. But we have the assurance that Jesus never leaves us. He's right here with us right now, and he loves us. He's promised that in all things, God works for the good for those who love him. That is a promise I know to be true. So where was God in our suffering? He was right here with us. He was carrying us when we needed carrying. He was mourning with us when we mourned. He encouraged us when we needed encouraging, and he celebrated with us when we celebrated. Did it make our suffering easier? No. But it did make it meaningful. It deepened my faith. It made my relationship with Jesus closer and more personal. And it made me a better person. Thank you.